Hello, and thank you for taking out time today to hear the Word of God. This is a part of my daily Bible study, and in today's episode, we are in Exodus 15 through 21. The schedule to read along will be in the description below. We are doing a schedule to read the Bible in 6 months. So, in these chapters, Moses has just helped the people of Israel escape from Pharaoh, and God has crashed down the sea on Pharaoh's chariots and army that was chasing the people of Israel. So they break out in song, they're singing to him, and they are just so ecstatic and in love with what God has done for them. So Moses led the people of Israel away from the Red Sea, and they moved out into the desert of Shur. They traveled in the desert for 3 days without finding any water. When they came to the oasis of Marah, the water was too bitter to drink, so they called the place Marah, which means bitter. The people complained and turned against Moses. "What are we going to drink?" they demanded. So Moses cried out to the Lord for help, and the Lord showed him a piece of wood. Moses threw it into the water, and this made the water good to drink. It was there at Marah the Lord set before them the following decree as a standard to test their faithfulness to him. He said, "If you will listen carefully the voice of the Lord your God, to the voice of the Lord your God, and do what is right in his sight, obeying his commands and keeping his decrees, then I will not make you suffer any of the diseases I sent on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you." After leaving Marah, the Israelites traveled on to the oasis of Elm, where they found 12 springs and 70 palm trees. They camped there beside the water. The whole community of Israel set out for Elm and journeyed into the wilderness of Sin between Elm and Mount Sinai. They arrived there on the 15th day of the second month, 1 month after leaving the land of Egypt. There too, the whole community of Israel complained to Moses and Aaron. "If only the Lord had killed us back in Egypt," they moaned. There we sat around pots filled with meat and ate all the bread we wanted. But now you have brought us into the wilderness to starve us all to death. So the people of Israel were complaining ceaselessly. They kept complaining about the water. They kept complaining about the food. They just kept complaining and not being grateful that they were free. Instead, they wished that they were back in Egypt because they had food. How much sense does that make? You were a slave. And the Lord said to Moses, "Look, I'm going to rain down food from heaven for you. Each day as the people can go and pick up as much food as they need for the day, I will test them in this to see whether or not they will follow my instructions. On the 6th day, they will gather food, and when they prepare it, there will be twice as much as usual." So Moses and Aaron said to all the people of Israel, "By evening you will realize that it was the Lord who has brought you out of the land of Egypt." And that evening, vast numbers of quail flew in and covered the camp. Then the next morning, the area in the camp was wet with dew. When the dew evaporated, a flaky substance as fine as frost blanketed the ground. The Israelites were puzzled when they saw it. "What is it?" they asked each other. They had no idea what it was. And Moses told them, "It is the food of the Lord. It is the food the Lord has given you to eat. These are the Lord's instructions. Each household should gather as much as it needs. Pick up 2 quarts for each person in your tent." So the people of Israel did as they were told. Some gathered a lot, some gathered a little. But when they measured it out, everyone had just enough. And those who gathered a lot had nothing left over, and those who gathered a little had enough. Each family had just what it needed. Then Moses told them, "Do not keep any until morning." But some of them didn't listen and kept some of it until morning. But by then it was full of maggots and had a terrible smell. Moses was very angry with them. After this, the people gathered the food morning by morning, each family according to its need, and the sun became hot. The flakes they had not picked up melted and disappeared. On the 6th day, they gathered twice as much as usual, 4 quarts for each person instead of 2. Then all the leaders of the community came and asked Moses for an explanation. He told them, "This is what the Lord commanded. Tomorrow will be the day of complete rest, a holy Sabbath day set apart for the Lord. So bake and broil as much as you want now today and set aside what is left for tomorrow." So in this miracle that has happened, you can see that God is always going to provide. That's why people call God the provider, our provider, because there was no source of food around them. They're in the desert. And now they have enough to eat every day. Every day is being replenished and they have food to eat. Miraculously. And the same thing can happen for you. I know further ahead in the Bible it says, "Be not afraid, only believe." That's what you have to do. Just believe. Because God created all of this. This is not a constraint to God. Your house is not too big of a structure for God to penetrate and to place something in your presence. This is not too much for God to deal with. We see this and we think this is real, this is hard, this is matter, this is the absolute, but it's not. This is the material world, and God is immaterial. He's non-corporeal. Like, he is very much so magic. Not even magic, because magic doesn't do justice to what God is. But I'm just saying, like, anything is possible with God. So, at the Lord's command, the whole community of Israel left the wilderness of Sin and moved from place to place. Eventually, they camped in Rephidim. But there was no water there for the people to drink. So once more, the people complained against Moses. "Give us water to drink," they demanded. "Quiet," Moses replied. "Why are you complaining against me, and why are you testing the Lord?" So the Lord tells Moses to strike a rock, and water will come gushing out, and the people will be able to drink. So he does as he is told, and water comes gushing out. And they named the place Massa, which means test, and Meribah, which means arguing, because the people of Israel argued with Moses and tested the Lord by saying, is the Lord here with us or not? So the Amalekites were warriors of Amalek. They attacked the people of Israel. And Moses commanded Joshua, choose some men to go out and fight the army of the Amalek for us tomorrow, and I will stand on the top of the hill holding the staff of God in my hand. So Moses had to hold the staff up in order for his people to be advancing and winning at the war. So when he became tired and his arms became tired and the staff went down, the other side started winning the war. So Aaron and Hur found a stone for him to sit on, and they stood on each side of Moses, holding up his hands, so his hands held steady until the sunset. And as the result, Joshua overwhelmed the army of the Amalek in the battle. So after they won the battle, the Lord instructed Moses, write this down on a scroll as a permanent reminder and read it aloud to Joshua. I will erase the memory of the Amalek from under heaven. Moses built an altar there and named it Yahweh Nisi, which means the Lord is my banner. He said, they have raised their fists against the Lord's throne, so now the Lord will be at war with the Amalek generation after generation. Jethro, Moses' stepfather, sends word that he is going to come and visit with his wife and his sons. So he comes and visits, he sees everything that Moses is doing, and he says to Moses, you are going to wear yourself out. You cannot keep handling stuff like this, handling every single little dispute. You have to set some people to be in charge of different groups and let them bring their disputes to those people. And if anything needs to come to you, those people can bring it to you. So Moses decided to do that. And that is how the groups were being managed. So exactly 2 months after the Israelites left Egypt, they arrived in the wilderness of Sinai. After breaking camp at Rephidim, they came to the wilderness of Sinai and set up camp there at the base of Mount Sinai. Moses climbed the mountain to appear before God. The Lord called to him from the mountain and said, give these instructions to the family of Jacob. Announce it to the descendants of Israel. You have seen what I did to the Egyptians. You know how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now, if you will obey me and keep my covenant, you will be my own special treasure from among all the peoples of the earth. For all the earth belongs to me, and you will be my kingdom of priests, my holy nation. This is the message you must give to the people of Israel. So Moses returned from the mountain and called together the elders of people and told them everything the Lord had commanded, and all the people responded together, we will do everything the Lord has commanded. So Moses brought the people's answer back to the Lord. Then the Lord said to Moses, I will come to you in a thick cloud, Moses, so the people themselves can hear me when I speak with you. Then they will always trust you. Moses told the Lord what the people had said. Then the Lord told Moses, go down and prepare the people for my arrival. Consecrate them today and tomorrow and have them wash their clothing. Be sure they are ready on the third day, for on that day the Lord will come down on Mount Sinai as all people watch. Mark off a boundary all around the mountain. Warn the people, be careful, do not go up the mountain or even touch its boundaries. Anyone who touches the mountain will certainly be put to death. No hand may touch the person or animal that crosses the boundary. Instead, stone them or shoot them with arrows. They must be put to death. However, when the ram's horn sounds a long blast, then the people may go up the mountain. So Moses went down to the people. He consecrated them for worship, and they washed their clothes. He told them, get ready for the third day, and until then, abstain from having sexual intercourse. On the morning of the third day, thunder roared and lightning flashed, and a dense cloud came down on the mountain. There was a long, loud blast from a ram's horn, and all of the people trembled. Moses led them out from the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. All of Mount Sinai was covered with smoke because the Lord had descended on it in the form of fire. The smoke billowed into the sky like smoke from a brick kiln, and the whole mountain shook violently. As the blast of the ram's horn grew louder and louder, Moses spoke, and God thundered his reply. The Lord came down on the top of Mount Sinai and called to Moses on the top of the mountain. So Moses climbed the mountain. Then the Lord told Moses, go back down and warn the people not to break through the boundaries to see the Lord, or they will die. Even the priests who regularly come near to the Lord must purify themselves so that the Lord does not break out and destroy them. But Lord, Moses protested, the people cannot come up Mount Sinai. You already warned us. You told me, mark off a boundary all around the mountain and set it apart as holy. But the Lord said, go down and bring me Aaron back up with you. In the meantime, do not let the priests or the people break through to approach the Lord, or he will break out and destroy them. So Moses went down down to the people and told them what the Lord had said. The commandments of the covenant community. Then God gave the people all these instructions. I'm the Lord your God who rescued you from the land of Egypt, the place of your slavery. You must not have any other God but me. You must not make yourself an idol of any kind or an image of anything in the heavens or on the earth or in the sea. You must not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God who will not tolerate your affection for any other gods. I lay the sins of the parents upon their children. The entire family is affected, even children in the third, fourth generations of those who rejected me. But I lavish unfailing love for 1,000 generations on those who love me and obey my commands. You must not misuse the name of the Lord your God. The Lord will not let you go unpunished if you misuse his name. Remember to observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. You have 6 days each week for your ordinary work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath day of rest dedicated to the Lord your God. On that day, no one of your household may do any work. This includes you, your sons and your daughters, your male and female servants, your livestock, and any foreigners living amongst you. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and everything in them. But on the seventh day he rested. This is why the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and set it apart as holy. Honor your father and your mother. Then you will live a long life, full life in the land the Lord your God is giving you. You must not murder. You must not commit adultery. You must not steal. You must not testify falsely against your neighbor. You must not covet your neighbor's house. You must not covet your neighbor's wife, male or female servant, ox or donkey, or anything else that belongs to your neighbor. When the people heard the thunder and the loud blast of the ram's horn, and when they saw the flashes of lightning and the smoke billowing from the mountain, they stood at a distance, trembling with fear. And they said to Moses, you speak to us and we will listen, but don't let God speak directly to us or we will die. Don't be afraid, Moses answered them, for God has come this way to test you, so that your fear of him will keep you from sinning. As the people stood in the distance, Moses approached the dark cloud where God was. And the Lord said to Moses, say this to the people of Israel, you saw for yourselves that I spoke to you from heaven. Remember, you must not make any idols of silver or gold to rival me. Build for me an altar made of earth and offer your sacrifices to me, your burnt offerings and peace offerings, your sheep and goats and your cattle. Build my altar wherever I cause my name to be remembered, and I will come to you and bless you. If you use stones to build my altar, use only natural uncut stones. Do not shape the stones with a tool, for that would make the altar unfit for holy use. And do not approach my altar by going up steps. If you do, someone might look under your clothing and see your nakedness. So, God listed out his commandments of the covenant community. And these are the same commandments that a lot of people go by today. Okay. But next, God talks about fair treatment of slaves, cases of personal injury, like what happens if anyone assaults or kills another person, they have to be put to death. If you assault or kill another person in this time, you had to be put to death. But if it was an accident, you were okay. But if someone deliberately kills another person, the slayer must be dragged even from my altar and be put to death. I just want to take this time to jump into prayer. God, as we fight against the evils of this world and try to maintain your commandments, please sustain us. Please continue to give us your grace. Please draw more people from evil and into the light and the love that is you. We want you to know that we are willing to go to the ends of the earth to spread your word and spread your message. Bringing people to salvation is our only desire, God. Just as you have protected, provided, and freed the people of Israel, we shall protect, provide, and free the people of this generation from the grips of the enemy. We shall provide companionship, food, labor, help for those people who are struggling. And we shall continue to work ceaselessly on delivering people from the enemy. We will uphold your commandments and be beacons of light. Let you use our lives as a testimony of your grace. Please, please, please make us into the people that can bless other people, God. In Jesus' name, amen. So if you made it this far in the video, thanks. Like, comment, subscribe. Catch you around.